Chaim's not going to like anything I'm about to say, so I'll try to minimize it. And it's not for Reb Chaim. It's only for if there's anyone here that doesn't really understand it or heard of Reb Kramer before. So I'll just be short.
Go ahead, make fun of me. Go ahead.
Kick me after. Wait. So Reb Chaim has been involved in Hafatza and publishing, printing, writing, tears, and so much avoda for over 30, 40 years, 50?
47.
47 years. Putting out the Sfar of Rabbi Nachman, Rabbi Nosson, Rabbi Rosenfeld, and many others. Personally, it changed my life. I was also Baal Tshuva, like many people here. And I say that starting to read Reb Chaim's Sfarim changed my life as much, if not more, than becoming religious. Completely changed my whole perspective on Judaism and changed many things for the better. I've known Reb Chaim probably for 16, 17 years. Everyone's seen this or this. There's some research to do. I actually started reading this. Right now there's 15 volumes, and I started when it was on 14. I'm actually right now, I just finished 14. Actually, I lost it for a little bit, so now I'm really halfway through 15. But to Shem, well, it's been a long time. But I started just on Shabbos, but you don't hear about me. Anyway, so my Rabbi, Yaakov Unselberg, who's at least to the crowd, to the public, he's very Litvish, big, massive Hamkachim. And he told me years ago that he feels Reb Chaim Kramer is one of the biggest sages of Breslov in the world. And that doesn't just mean, tzaddik, like these people that act like a rebbe, but a serious Talmud Chacham. Right? Rabbi Simpson and I were talking before, and anytime we've asked Rabbi Kramer a question, he's able to answer all over, really all over. And I just want everyone to really appreciate who they're hearing. We're going to, Rabbi Kramer's going to talk about Rosh HaShanah. We're also going to open up for question and answers. He'll lead, but don't be shy to ask. I know a lot of these, I heard a lot of these questions from the bottom over here. So please, ask your questions and don't be afraid. Thank you. And thank you, Rabbi Kramer, and thank you to the Breslov Yeshiva for hosting, and to the Shul, the Breslov Shul. Come here to daven. Thank you. There's also sheets going around.
That's not the way they introduce me. I was born August 6, 1945, the same day they dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima. And my mother always said there were 2 bombs, but hers is still causing damage. That's the way they introduced me. Anyway, we all know tonight is Chav Beis, 22 days in Elul. We have a week to go, a week and 1 day, right? And Rosh HaShanah. And to understand that Rosh HaShanah is not a holiday like Pesach or Sukkot, a family holiday. Rosh Hashanah is a day of judgment. You're on trial for nothing less than your life. Nothing less than that. And it's got to be taken serious, right? So Rosh Hashanah is coming up, and one of the things that sets Breslov apart from many other parts of the religion, any other flows, they have other Hasidus, you have Litvish, you have all different streams and whatnot. Now, a lot of people go to their rabbi, but Rabbi Nachman is the only one who insists on it. You got to come to Uman Rosh HaShanah. Come to Uman, come to me Rosh HaShanah. He didn't say Uman, he said come to me Rosh HaShanah. Okay, so it causes a lot of questions, which I hope you'll ask. I hope you will. It also causes a lot of confusion. What's the big deal? why do I have to travel? I mean, I'm on trial wherever I am. It could be Australia, it could be Alaska, it could be Argentina. Right? But wherever I am, I'm on trial. What's the difference where I go? Right? And of course, it causes a lot of shalom bayis problems. You know, as the Welt says, it's a cute thing. El is Rashi Tevis, Ani Lu'umin, V'ishti Lachamoisi. Right? So, you know, what do we do about Uman? What do we do? What's this whole business of traveling and going? So I could go on and say a lot of things, but perhaps if you want to ask your questions, which really interests you, we can get to the core of the matter faster, better, because then I'll know exactly what you want to know. So if you want, we can do, otherwise I could stand here and bore you with my lecture. It's up to you. Anyone have a question? You can ask from the peanut gallery too. It's okay.
At what expense?
What?
At what expense?
First, I got to preface.
Not financially.
I have to preface, I'm over 80, right? Baruch Hashem, I have a hearing loss. I'm supposed to go tomorrow morning for hearing aids, whatever, but I don't hear clearly. So you got to speak loud and clear and slow, okay?
Okay. At what expense should somebody make the trip? If there's, not financially, if there's an expense of, let's say someone has children who are of the age of chinuch, and they're not going to have a father, boys, but they're not old enough to travel to Uman, but they are the age of chinuch. So at that expense?
Yes. Yes. And let's understand that. You are the head of household. All right? Well, you, your wife, whatever. Someone, you're the head of household. And therefore, whatever's going to happen in the house depends on you. Right? Not your children, not your wife, not your mother-in-law, not your sister, whatever. It depends on you. You have to get the best deal for your family. Right? Now, I went through the same thing as you're asking. I had young kids when Uman opened up in 1989, and I traveled. I had my children left at home and whatnot until they were finally old enough to come. But yeah, there's problems with that. Are you going to get your kid to hear shofar? Right? It's the mitzvah of Rosh HaShanah to hear the shofar. You have a family, they need someone to direct them. Simchas Yom Tov, you have to be able to make kiddush and have a family meal, whatever the case is. So the answer is yes, sacrifice that all and go to Uman. Why? Why? Because, as we started, you're on trial for your life. Would you attempt to go before the judge without a lawyer? You wouldn't, right? And you're trying to get the best lawyer you can. Rabbi Nachman said, Hashem gave me a present. I know what Rosh Hashanah is. And I could do things on Rosh Hashanah for people that even I cannot do the entire year. Why is that? Let's understand. God forbid, chas v'sholem, a person has a cancer, right? You go in for a procedure, the doctor cuts it out, okay? That's good. Except that not always do they get the entire cancer. They don't always get all those little cells that cause that. So it can come back. So the Zohar calls this Ein Hadin Nimtak Ela B'Shoshrei. A judgment is not mitigated except at its source. If you can take out the entire cancer, then the guy is clean. He's okay, right? Rosh Hashanah is a day of judgment, That's when all the judgments for the entire year are issued. All of them. Whatever the Gemara says, you have it in Parshas Eikev. Eni Hashem Elokecha bo mereishis Hashana ad acharis Shana. Hashem's eyes are upon the Eretz Yisrael from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. Rashi brings it, it's a Gemara in Rosh HaShanah, that B'Rosh HaShanah nigzor ma yehei b'soifa. What's going to happen on 29 Elul up until Shkia was already decreed last year Rosh Hashanah. Right? So now, that's where all the judgments of the year are issued, on Rosh Hashanah. Therefore, you need a good lawyer to help you out of the mess that they're about to put down upon you. They're about to decree upon you. Right?
Quantify the question.
Loud and clear.
Right, sorry, I just want to quantify the question. Thank God I've been going to Uman nearly every year.
Very good. Ashrecha.
Thank you. My question is, at what expense, if for example, I'll give another example, let's say, God forbid, someone's wife is someone's wife is extremely ill, and they're going to have to leave their wife on their own to go to Uman. I'm just giving a wild example.
Yeah.
So the question is, at what expense?
At what expense? I had a case like that once. Right? I had a couple, they had a kid, the kid died, crib death. They did tests. They found that there was some incompatibility between the two of them. So he comes to me and he says, it's Elul, beginning of Elul. He says, well, my wife is due in a couple of weeks. What do I do? I said, you want to go to Uman? He said, yes, but I don't know what to do. I said, there are people for pay, that's expense, right, that take care of other people. Make sure your wife is taken care of, right? Make sure. Okay, sorry. Make sure your wife is taken care of. You have somebody with her 24/7. She goes to the hospital. She's there to help her. Make sure that everything is taken care of. Then you can go. Now, last year, I have a very close friend of mine. All right, his wife was in danger before Rosh Hashanah. And one of the children stayed behind, his married children. They all went. She passed away on Rosh Hashanah. You can't help those things. You're not in charge of that. You're not in charge of what happens. A person is well, a person is sick. That comes from heaven. Always. All right? At what expense? You got to make sure your wife is taken care of. If not, you're not a real husband. If not, you're not a real man. Simple as that. Right? Your wife has your priority. A priority. But there are ways to help with priority while you do what your priority is supposed to be, and that's to go to the best lawyer you can in order to get the best job, the best decision that you can. Okay? You had a question before you, he had a question. Loud and clear.
How do we know that Rabbi Nachman would want people to go to Uman?
How do we know Rabbi Nachman
Would want people to go to Uman when...
loud and clear.
How do we know that Rabbi Nachman would want people to go to Uman over Eretz Yisrael, especially when today we can have the... we're not like that in Kedusha again. It's that you can go down with 1,000 people at the Kotel or at the Kerel David Amelech.
Or Chevron, by the Ovois, right? By Reb Shimon, by Yechoy. There's plenty of places to go. During Rabbi Nachman's lifetime, he told his Hasidim, come to me Rosh Hashanah. A half year before he passed away, his house burned down. There was a tremendous fire in the city of Breslov, and the city was almost destroyed. Right then, he got a call from people in Uman inviting him to live in Uman. So he went. He's there a half year. He has tuberculosis. He knows he's dying. He knows that. Then, in Uman, he started talking a lot about coming to me Rosh Hashanah. He's dying. It won't take more than another few weeks. And he passed away 18 Tishrei, 18 days after Rosh. But he kept on insisting, you got to come to me Rosh Hashanah. Right? So how do we know that he wanted it to come to Uman? Because he didn't say Uman. He didn't say it. He was sick. He said, come to me Rosh Hashanah. Reb Nosson, his student, said that since the Rebbe insisted so much upon it just before he passed away, knowing he was going to pass away, then we should gather in Uman every Rosh Hashanah. And they did. They started the following year, and it's been growing since then. Okay? Now, you're asking about Eretz Yisrael. Right? We are in Eretz Yisrael. Tremendous. Right? But when you think about it, first there's a lesson in the Likutei Moharan, a lesson 110, I believe it is, where Rabbi Nachman brings a pasuk, Tzadikim Yirshu Oretz. Tzadikim inherit Eretz Yisrael, right? Which means that the place where they're buried has the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Nachman, the Baal Shem Tov, Rashi, the Vilna Gaon, Chofetz Chaim, you name it, right? At that kever, there's Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. So Reb Shmuel Shapiro, one of the great leaders of Breslov, the last generation, used to say, he asked him, how do you expect to go to Uman? How are you going to leave Eretz Yisrael? He says, well, I'm going from Eretz Yisrael to Eretz Yisrael. Okay? That's one part of the answer. The other answer is you're allowed to go to Chutz La'aretz for learning Torah, getting married, or at least to keep the peace in the house, right? And a few other things, a couple of other things that, when we go to Rabbi Nachman, we go to his kever, and believe me, there's nothing else in Uman to go there for. Believe me. There's a beautiful natural park, like a Sofievka Park, right? That was built with slave labor, 200 years ago, over 200 years ago. It's a beautiful natural park, botanical gardens and all that kind of stuff. But even that, big deal, right? You go to Uman, you go for one purpose. That's to pray at the gravesite of Rabbi Nachman. What are you praying for? That you should be a better Jew. You should have Yirah Shamayim. You should be able to daven with Kavanah. You should be able to learn Torah, and you should be able to understand the Torah. So everything that you're going there for is to build your Yiddishkeit. All right? Now, I will say that if you get there, there are people that don't seem that they came for that purpose. You're going to find that in every crowd. Every crowd has that. So, big deal. That's not what I'm going there for. That's not what I'm looking for. And it's certainly not what I'm going to daven for. I'm going to daven for whatever it is. I customize myself on my many trips to Uman. I've been there about 200 times over. Right? On the way there, when I used to go from Kiev airport to Uman, right, 3 hours, I would daven, Hashem, make sure, please, that I daven for the right things and not for the wrong things. Did you ever daven for the wrong thing? It happens, right? We're human. Many times we ask for things that we don't really need, and many times we overlook the really important things in life. Okay, it happens. We're human. So I daven that I should daven for the right things. So therefore, when I leave Eretz Yisrael, I'm leaving it in order to come back to Eretz Yisrael with a better heart, with a better mind, with a better mindset, with better feelings, to be able to come closer to Hashem. Because that's the whole reason you were created, to come close to Hashem. There's Hashem, there's you, make the connection. That's what it's all about. Rabbi Nachman's gravesite is the place to do it. And not only that, I'm going to add on, I know you have another question, but Rabbi Nosson explains, there's a pasuk in Zechariah, in the Novi Zechariah, it says that v'nosati l'cho malachim bein ha'omdim ha'ela. If you become a good tzaddik, if you're speaking to Yehoshua, the Kohen Gadol, he says, if you do the job right, whatever it is he was supposed to be doing there, he says, I will give you a way to walk among those who stand. What does that mean? Those who stand are angels. An angel was created for a specific purpose, and that's the only thing it can do. It's like standing, right? It stands there. It does whatever it has to do, and that's it, right? You ever see the Royal Guard in England, the Queen's Guard, right? They stand there, right? The whole day. Yeah, people try to make them laugh. They can't laugh. They got. A human being is greater than an angel. In the Kabbalah, there are 4 worlds. There's Atzilus, from the word Eitzel, right next to Hashem. There's the next lower world, Bria, the world of creation. The world under it is called the Yetzirah, formation. And then there's this world called Asiyah. The throne of Hashem is in Bria. Hashem is in Atzilus. And then he's sitting on a throne which is in Bria. In the Olam HaYetzirah, under it, that's where the angels reside. Our souls come from the Kisei Kovod. We come from the Olam HaBriah. We're higher than angels. We're greater than angels. So a human being can do that. But what? A person can only go so far in heaven as far as his mitzvahs have brought him. You do one mitzvah, you get a certain reward. You go 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000, whatever you do, that's your reward. You keep on going, but you can't go any higher. That's your reward. That's what you did, right? But there's such a thing called Yerida Tachlis or Aliyah, a descent for the sake of ascent, right? You ever go up a ladder and then you falter a little bit, you go back a step, and then you kick and go up more steps? Ever happen? Yeah? Okay, so we're on the same page. Yeah? So, if you go down, then you can go up higher, right? When you come to the grave of a tzaddik and you pray there, what you've done is called the neshama of the tzaddik to come down to you back in this world. Once the tzaddik descends to this world, then he can go to a higher level over there. So actually, you did the tzaddik a favor, and therefore, he owes you. All right? So now you can get that in Hebron by the Kivrei Avos. You can get it in Meron by Reb Shimon. You can do that by the Koisel. There's plenty of all the neshamas of the tzaddikim are found by the Koisel, whatever. But Rabbi Nachman promised. That's the difference. Rabbi Nachman promised, you come to me, you say the 10 chapters, give a little tzedakah, right? Like a life insurance. You pay a policy every month, right? Rabbi Nachman says, give a few coins for tzedakah. He didn't ask you for $1,000 or an endowment, $18,000. He didn't ask you for that. He asked you for a few coins of tzedakah in his name. And then he promises that he will work on your behalf. How's that? Pretty good, huh? Okay. Wait, where's the young fella here had a question? He walked out. Okay. Loud and clear.
What would you say?
Huh?
What would you say to someone who doesn't necessarily consider themselves like a chassid or Rebbe Nachman right now?
Okay. Do you want afterlife insurance? Is it worth it to you? So, you don't have to be a chassid of Rebbe Nachman. There are plenty of Hasidim that have gone there. Gera Hasidim, actually Rosh Hashanah, we have Gera, we have Lubavitcher, we have Satmar, we have Vizhnitzer. There's plenty of, but not even Rosh Hashanah. During the entire year, there have been Litvaks that have been there. Reb Shabsha Yudalevich was a big Maggid, he was a Litvak. He was there, I saw him there. And there were others. You don't have to be a Breslov chassid to go to Rebbe Nachman and Uman. Okay? Loud and clear.
Side question.
Loud and clear.
Side question. What does Reb Nachman say the proper way to seder to daven on Rosh Hashanah?
The same way you're supposed to daven during the year. Understand what you're saying. Have kavanah. Kavanah means understand what you're saying. Feel the words as best as you can. That's Rosh Hashanah, that's Yom Kippur, that's Sukkot. Huh?
I thought on Rosh Hashanah we're not supposed to ask. It's all about.
Oh, you're not supposed to ask private things. Yeah, because you're standing before Hashem on judgment.
Right. So
You're
what's
in
the proper way to daven then?
you daven what it says in the Marzah. And ask Hashem to help you have Yirah Shamayim. That you can ask. Ask Hashem that you serve Him properly. Whatever abilities that you have. Not everybody has the same abilities. So ask Him according to the koichos that I have, let me serve you properly. Very simple.
It's Ruchnius Bakoshos versus...
Huh?
Is it Ruchnius Bakoshos versus God?
Well, I mean, the whole idea of life is to come close to Hashem. So any kind of spiritual request is okay. Spiritual.
What's
Right?
the best way to swear in the Meniyot?
Huh? Loud and clear, huh?
What's the best way to swear in the Meniyot to get
What's the best way?
to swear in the Dinim to get to Uman?
Pray. Pray. And then pray again. We say it in Elul. Kavi el Hashem, chazak v'ya'ametz libecha v'kavi el Hashem. It's a Gemara in Brachos. The Gemara says, Kavi el Hashem, hope to Hashem, pray to Him, and if you don't see that your tefillah was answered, then pray again. And pray again. And pray again. Yes, you had your hand up a long time ago, yeah?
Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment.
Loud and clear.
Rosh Hashanah is the day of judgment, right?
Right.
You mentioned that we need the best lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Louder.
Why can't Rabbi Nachman be our lawyer without us being at his kever?
Why?
Can't Rabbi Nachman be our lawyer without us being at his kever?
He can. He does. He said the whole world depends on my Rosh Hashanah. So most of the world is not there, Rosh Hashanah. Right? He works for you there, even if you're not there. He's working for you. But the closer you are, the better off you are, right? Now you want to watch a football game from up close, or you want to look from a TV 1,000 miles away, right? I know they do it here, Super Bowl and everything, you know. But whatever the case is, isn't it more exciting when you see it live action? Right? Isn't live action better?
But it's such a schlep.
Huh? Yeah, I agree with you. I hate it. Not only that, I hate it for a lot of other reasons too. I know how much Jewish blood is soaked into the Ukraine. So I can't stand any minute that I'm standing there. I can't stand it. It hurts me. I'm a little history buff. I've read a lot about it. I know how much Jewish blood is buried, soaked up, rivers in the Ukraine. Rivers, right? But it's a schlep. It's hard. And I'm getting older. And it's getting harder, right? when I was 30, 40, okay, big deal. But now I feel the trip. There was a time I didn't. Now I feel it. So you got to do what you got to do, right? A man's got to do what he's got to do. So we got to go. There's a schlep, right? Let me ask you a question. You never slept anywhere else in your life? Huh? Did you? Yeah, you did, huh? So I think you slept for whatever you slept. Now you could sleep for a spiritual objective.
Even if we don't go to him, he's still helping.
Louder and clearer.
Go to him, he's still helping us. The whole world depends.
What?
Even if we don't go to him, he's still helping us. So it's such a big schlep to go, and he's still helping us even if we don't go.
Okay. You want to be in the king's legion? Or do you want to be one of the guys outside in the middle of nowhere, just benefiting from the king? Up to you. Do whatever you want. No one's forcing you, right? Nobody is forcing you to go to Uman. Yes, sir.
I can understand if we're talking about a judge of flesh and
You're
blood.
talking about a
Judge of flesh and blood, that a lawyer would be able to sway him this way or that way on your case. We're talking about the judge that can see everything, Hashem, the true judge. So why should it make a difference whether or not someone is a tzaddik, but whether he says this or that, Hashem sees everything, so why should it sway Hashem?
Did you ever hear of a guy named Moshe Rabbeinu? You heard of him? Okay. The Jews made a golden calf, right? And Hashem said, I'm going to wipe them out. He sees everything. He saw what they did. He said, Anochi Hashem Elikecha, if you serve idolatry, you get killed. Simple. Right? But there was a tzaddik, Moshe Rabbeinu, who mitigated the decree. He said, Hashem, I don't want you to touch the hair on one Jew. I don't want you to touch a hair. You're going to leave them alive. If not, get rid of me. Right? The tzaddik put his neck on the line for Klal Yisrael. Right? That's what happens today too. All the tzaddikim in all the generations have always davened on behalf of Klal Yisrael. The Zohar says, it's in Parshas Achrei, Zohar says, if it wasn't for the prayers of the tzaddikim, this world wouldn't exist for a second. Right? But the tzaddikim are constantly praying for the good of Klal Yisrael. And therefore, when you buy a tzaddik, the tzaddik could take a judgment. The judgment, it's against you, sir. You ever been a Sotheby's auction, right? It's against you, it's against you, it's against you, right? None of that. I don't accept it, Hashem. I want better for my people. And that's what they do till today. That's why you need a tzaddik. Loud and clear.
I'm trying to further the question.
I'm getting tired of saying that. Yeah.
What is the emotional state
the
emotional state that one should try to be in during Rosh Hashanah? Because it's a Yom of Din, but it's also our Father who's judging us. So what's the balance that should be?
What's the balance between it's a Yom Adin and he's judging us? I mean, that's what a Yom Adin is.
No, but that our Father is the judge.
That
our Father is the judge.
Yeah. Your father ever disciplined you? Did he? Yeah. You ran into the gutter, right? He beat you pretty hard for that, right? A father disciplines his son. He wants him to go on the right path. It's really simple, right? What you have to do is try and turn that discipline into compassion. That's your job. How do you do that? By davening. You daven and you get it right. It works. It works. Right? I've seen people who have had terminal illness and they survived. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. It can happen, right? People who have had reverses in financial matters, and they've prayed, and it's reversed. There's a lot of things like that in life. It depends on your prayers. It depends what Hashem knows is best for you. Sometimes a father could say no. He says, you want this, you want that, but it doesn't always work. Why? Because Hashem knows it's not good for you, right? I have a kid, he wanted a bike. I had older children that had bikes. This kid wanted a bike, I said, no. Why not? You're not careful. You're not careful. I don't want you falling off the bike and hurting yourself. So I didn't get him a bike. So he borrowed a bike. And the next day he broke his front tooth from the bike. Very nice. Right? Sometimes the father says no, there's a reason for it. Okay? Any questions from the peanut gallery? Yeah, go ahead. Shoot. Loud and clear.
There's a question here about why doesn't Rabbi Nachman address women's...
Loud and clear.
Why doesn't Rabbi Nachman address women specifically?
Why doesn't he address...
Why doesn't he address women specifically?
Why? Well, I guess he was a man. I mean, whatever. But he does in several places. He says, be very careful the way you treat your wife, because the Gemara says all the wealth that a person has comes from the side of his wife. Right? It's a Gemara in Bava Metzia. Right? He did say, why don't you make your wives into Hasidim? Now, you have to qualify that. Right? Rabbi Nachman told his students, go out to the forest in the middle of the night and have a spoidedus, private secluded prayer. But you see, you can't have the guys going out to the forest in the middle of the night and then the women following. It's not right. Right? Okay? So there are things that are applicable to a man in Shulchan Aruch. In halacha, men are required certain things. Women have different requirements. But Rabbi Nachman did speak about being careful how you speak to your wife, how you treat her, and stuff like that. It is important, very important. He said the Yetzer Hara took it upon himself. This is in Sichos Saran. It was written by Reb Nosson. This is over 200 years ago. And he said the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, took it upon himself to destroy Shalom Bayis. He did it. And if you have any questions about that, take a look at what happens in today's day and age, right? Do you ever think about it, how many questions are asked before you make a shidduch, right? How many questions? There's a whole list, right? It can take pages. You have to have a resume and everything. I mean, forget all this. It's crazy, but okay. But just think, if there are so many questions asked, how come there are so many divorces today? How come? Single mothers, Hashem should spare us all. 2-3 years, you know, you made a shidduch. I asked all the right questions. Everything is supposed to be perfect. And then there's a divorce a year later, 2 years. How could it happen? Because the focus is not on the tachlis, what the end goal, the end result of a person is. The end of a person is that after a certain age, we die. And we have to give a full accounting on our lives before Hashem, right? So if you build a home with that premise, you know that there's something beyond me that I have to take care of, build a Jewish home, fulfill the Torah, and then we'll have a life. Differences will occur. He's male, she's female. It's automatically got to be different. Automatically, right? Or let me ask you, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, right? You ever hear that? Okay. What's the way to a woman's heart? Something pretty, right? Something nice. Okay? So you're automatically on different levels, on different planes. Automatically. And that's the way it is. Okay?
Guys, just one thing before you answer my question. Don't be afraid to ask anything. Say, like, if you feel like you're going to offend Reb Chaim because he's a Breslover, don't be afraid. There are things that you guys talk to me about that are, this is the place to ask. So whatever you're feeling, whatever you're thinking about Uman, about Breslov, about Judy.
About anything.
Anything, just ask.
What if
loud and clear.
Let's say somebody is like with an anxiety disorder or something, and they fear to go to Uman, then what's the...
I'm not hearing.
Let's say somebody has like a psychological disorder.
Has a what?
Psychological disorder.
Psychological.
Yeah.
Like anxiety or something like that, and they fear to go to Uman, then what would you say is that?
I would say that having anxiety is being human. Human beings have anxiety. It happens. From the time of Adam Rishon, right? He ate from the tree. Hashem says, "Where are you?" He says, "Here I am." Right? Ayeka, where are you? Right? This goes on from it's the last 5,785 years. Right? And that it happens. Now, I can't tell you what to do if you have a psychological disorder. There are plenty come to Uman with there are plenty. I'm fond of saying, the pasuk says about Rosh HaShanah, "Echum hashmanim shesum amtakim ki chevas Hashem hu me'uzchem." Eat good food, right? Drink sweet drinks, right? Because the strength of Hashem is your happiness, right? So there's a lot of happiness in Uman, a lot of joy, a lot of dancing, a lot of singing. It's ecstatic over there, really. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that bring their own ecstasy with them, right? So I'm not going to talk about the fact that there are psychological disorders. Every person has his own lack. Every person, right? You know why? Because we're born with the Yetzer Hara. It's as simple as that. Psychology, they look for the root of what went wrong, right? And when you think about it, nobody suggests that you're born with the Yetzer Hara. But Chazal say you are. That Yetzer Hara gives you all the psychological disorders. This one's OCD, this one's manic depressive, all this stuff comes out because we have a Yetzer Hara, right? If we do something wrong, we feed the Yetzer Hara, so it becomes stronger. If we control it, it won't happen, but we don't control it. We're subject to difficulties and problems. And once we have that understanding, we all have our problems. Some more, anger. You ever hear of anger management? Right? You ever hear of arrogance or jealousy? Right? These are real things. Hatred. And there's a whole litany of characteristics that are against us. But they're inbred in us. And we have to work on it. Each one has a different type of a draw to a certain characteristic. But it's there. It's there. So you have a psychological disorder. That's why you go to Uman. To ask Hashem through Rabbi Nachman to be saved from that. Moshe Hamburg had
What does it mean when it says we want
loud and clear.
What does it mean when it says we want to be baked on the heart of the Rebbe?
To be baked on the heart of the Rebbe. It means that you are given over to Rabbi Nachman. Rabbi Nachman said that his students are baked on his heart, that he feels for every student. He will consider the importance of every follower, right? But as the Breslov Hasidim explain, you can't be baked in Rabbi Nachman's heart if Rabbi Nachman is not baked in your heart. It's a two-way street, right? You have to be able to relate to Rabbi Nachman that you want him. My wife told me, she was there one Rosh HaShanah, and there was a guy on the 5th floor, you know those buildings over the Tzion, right? There was a guy on the 5th floor on the balcony, and he said, Rabbi Nachman, ani meta lecha. And she was afraid that he was going to jump, right? Now, whether he knew what meta lecha really means, or, but you know, you got to feel that the Rebbe is there for me, and the Rebbe is going to try and help me. Yeah?
So, if it's asur to get old and stale and
Yeah, to get old and stale, yeah.
Rabbi Nachman, he also says like to see every day, every moment, like it's new, with like fresh new eyes, like a kid almost. How, you have any tips on how to do that, how to feel each moment like it's mamash, like a beautiful, awe-inspiring world?
Okay, first I'll tell you that when I was younger, I thought that it would be easy to renew myself because I'm young, I have my strength, I have all of that. Today, I find that it's easier to renew myself every day now. Why? Right? Because I forgot what happened yesterday. Right? Okay? But what happens really when you have to think about it, it's just start again. Start again, start again. That's all. I got up this morning, I intended to daven this way, and I intended to learn this, and it wasn't working out. So it didn't work out. Start now. Start now. Start afresh. Now, we have a book, Tefillin, right? It's based on the first day of the 7 beggars, and Rabbi Nachman's famous story, the 7 beggars. And that's where Reb Nosson has an incredible discourse of what it means to begin every day. What does it mean to begin? It means literally to begin anew. Okay, I did something now, it was good, so I'm refreshed and I'll do more. I did something now, it was no good, so I'm going to start from now. I start from now. It's a mindset. Right? That's what they call it these days, mindset. Yeah. Right? You got to take yourself, put yourself into the mindset. Whatever I did till now, you know, you're not going to change anything that you did in the past. I don't care if you're 10 years old, 30 years old, 50 or 70. You're not going to change one single thing that you did in the past, good or evil. Right? But you can... Oh,
evil you can erase.
I can't hear you.
Evil you can erase by doing tshuva.
You can start now. Now, you want to talk about erasure? Okay. The Kabbalah, the Arizal speaks about it. There's something called a reshimu, an impression. Right? Okay. A person does a mitzvah, he makes an impression in the place where he is. Sometimes you'll come to a place and all of a start, you'll start thinking good thoughts. Why? What were you thinking of till now? How did that good thought come to you? Because there's a reshimu, an impression, at this place at a certain time, could be last year, it could be 400 years ago. Somebody did a mitzvah, and he left an impression in this place that something good was done. The same thing works with a sin, something evil. An impression is made in the place. Sometimes you'll come, you ever go to Times Square in New York? You ever see what goes on there? You ever go to Las Vegas? Right? You're not going to find a scholar with a beard learning a Blat Gemara in Caesar's palace or whatever you want to call the place. It's just not going to happen. Why not? Because the Rishimu there, the impressions there is money, lust, right, bet, gamble, do. That's what everyone wants there. That's what everyone goes there for. So that Rishimu was made. Now, when a person does tshuva, he erases the sin that he did. He does not always erase the impression. He does not. It requires a certain level of tshuva to erase the impression that was made. How do we get to that? Well, it's Gemara, the Zoya, all the Sforim talk about it with a lot of tshuva. In other words, I'm sorry, Hashem, okay, the sin is erased, but I got to really be sorry. I got to really work on myself. I got to really counter it with mitzvahs. I have to really change my whole mindset. I have to really change where I am, what I'm doing, and all that.
So Reb Nachman talks about it in Kutei Moharan that we should continue doing tshuva because every day.
Tshuva on tshuva.
So as I'm going up in levels, I'm doing tshuva.
Yeah, that's how you're erasing the impression.
So that should erase the original.
It depends what kind of evil was done, and it depends what kind of cleansing that impression requires. But it can be done. It can be done. Right? Person can erase his past entirely. Right? The Gemara talks about someone called Yochum Ish Tzoros. He was a terrible sinner. I think it was his uncle, I'm not sure, was Yossi ben Yoezer, who was one of the first Tanoim after Shimon HaTzadik. He was a very great tzaddik. He lived during the Greek invasion, and the Greeks really did a lot of damage. And they were putting Yossi ben Yoezer to death. And his nephew, who was completely off the derech, right, came by, he made fun of him, right? But Rabbi Yossi said to him, if this is what happens to those who serve Hashem, imagine what's going to happen to those who don't serve Hashem. Yochim was very taken by that. He went and he made gallows and he did a whole bunch of things to get the 4 misos of Bezdin, the 4 deaths and he went through the process. And as Rabbi Yossi ben Yoezer was dying, he saw the soul of Yochim Yisrael going up completely. It's a Gemara, right? So what you have is a possibility to do tshuva, right? You can always erase, and you can erase the impression too. But you gotta really mean it. You say in Yom Kippur, the night of Yom Kippur, you have Kol Nidre, you have a few other psukim, and then you say, Vayomer Hashem solachti kidvarecha. Hashem said, I forgive you according to what Moshe Rabbeinu asked, right? That was forgiving the sin of the spies. So Reb Nosson writes, it's quite frightening to think about it. Vayomer Hashem solachti. Hashem says, I forgive. But kidvarecha, according to the sincerity you have in your words. It's frightening. It's frightening how much you really mean, I'm sorry, right? Or shamnu, bogadnu, really, right? It's a very, very powerful statement. But I can go off topic if you want. I'm going to ask you a question. Did you ever hear of the bracha Shechiyonu? Right? Comes Sukkot night, Shechiyonu, right? When do you make the Shechiyonu in the Sukkah? On Kiddush. On a cup of wine. Pesach, Shavuos. When do you make Shechiyonu? On the cup of wine. Rosh HaShanah, on the cup of wine. What do you do Yom Kippur? We make Shechiyonu. right? We make Shechionu right after we say Vayomer Hashem Salachti Kidvarecha. So the Cherina Rav, a descendant of the Rav and from Rabbi Nachman's time, a Goy Nadi, is tremendous. He said, take a look. Rabbi Nachman brings in a lesson that the words Vayomer Hashem Solachti Kidvarecha, the first letters make up the word koisi, my cup, right? So whenever we come to Yom Tov and we say Shechionu, it's on the kois of Kiddush. On Yom Kippur, when we say Shechionu, it's right after we say Vayomer Hashem Solachti Kidvarecha. That's Hashem's cup. That's Hashem's cup of Kiddush, that Hashem forgives us. Shechionu, we say Shechionu because Hashem is forgiving us. It's a beautiful word. That was off topic, but okay, go ahead. Question.
Is there a concern that people may misunderstand the role of the tzaddik, like Chas v'Shalom, like the Egel, where like Klal Yisrael by the Egel, that they misunderstood the tzaddik, or Chas v'Shalom could be poigen in the Rambam's Ikrei Emunah? Is there a concern that can?
Is there a problem with it? Yes. Yes. I'll give you an example. There's a certain religion that they made somebody into a god, right? And they follow him, right? The possibility could happen. Now, he was a Talmud of Rabbi Yeshua ben Parachia, one of the very early Tanoim. But he went off the derech. He was the first Reformed Jew. He was, right? They canceled the Torah. He canceled the Torah. Whatever the case is. Point is that a person could follow a tzaddik and he can make a mistake too. Yeah, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. It's, to my opinion, again, it's my opinion, that this is why the tzaddik was not kept in the fore of Judaism all the years of exile. Baal Shem Tov came around, he brought back the concept of a tzaddik. But it wasn't in the forefront because of the power of Christianity, how they suppressed the Jews with their ideas and whatnot. That's what I believe forced the suppression of the concept of a tzaddik. But the concept is there. If you look in Gemara, throughout Shas, there's talk about the tzaddik, the power of the tzaddik. The Zohar talks about the power of the tzaddik, right? All these different things that can happen because of the tzaddik, right? But it was suppressed because of mistakes. Now, there's a lot of people in Yiddishkeit. For instance, there was a guy in our history 400 years ago, Shabtai Tzvi, right? He presented himself as Mashiach, a great tzaddik and whatnot. Okay? Great tzaddikim followed him. It could happen. It did happen, right? And he was only one of several false messiahs. So you have to know that you have to be careful how you realize that tzaddik is the medium to bring us to Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu. Take a look what he did, right? And you got to figure Moshe Rabbeinu, and you got to look at him in a different sense. He was a leader. He wasn't democratically elected. He lived in Midian while the Jews were suffering in Egypt, so he had no problem. Hashem tells him, go take the Jews out. He comes to Egypt. There's 600,000 strong Yidden there, right? He says to them, okay guys, I want you to know I'm here to take you out. What would you think of someone like that? He came out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. He said, I'm here to take you out. Would you believe him? Would you have anything to do with him? But he was a leader. He didn't care what the people said. Hashem told him, lead the people. He led the people. He took them out, right? He had to go to Paro and his palace, go into the, walk into Putin's palace today. See what happens. Go in there, tell him you want to take the Jews out of Russia. Go. Go to Saudi Arabia or Doha, where they killed a few people, unfortunately not enough. But go to any of these places and walk in there and say, I'm helping the Jews. I need $100,000 for you to help the poor Jews who are suffering in hostage, right? Look at the way they look at you. They'll kill you on the spot. Moshe Rabbeinu walked into Paro's palace with all the guards, with everyone around, fearlessly. He said, let my people go. That's a leader. Not like the democratically elected people today who follow the polls, right? That's a bunch of garbage, right? It's got no value whatsoever. You have another? Louder and clearer.
I understand that Moshe Rabbeinu is giving us the Torah, but then the Torah goes on to say that, the Torah is not in the heavens, that you need anyone to go get it for you, or it's not over the sea.
I'm not hearing it. I'm sorry.
I understand with Moshe Rabbeinu that Moshe Rabbeinu is the one to give us the Torah, right? But then the Torah says that the Torah is not in the heavens, that we need anyone to go get it for us. The Torah is not over the sea, that we need someone.
This week's parsha, yeah.
Right? So once it says that, once it says Lo Bashamayim, how do we understand that a later tzaddik is now going to be acting like a Moshe?
Did Moshe Rabbeinu have a student called Yehoshua? Did he give over everything to his student? And Yehoshua gave it over to the Zkanim, and the Zkanim gave it over to the Vim. This is the first Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, right? We have had, Baruch Hashem, leaders throughout the generations. They're conceptually the Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation. Asher yihiyeh bayomim hahem. You go to the judge that's in that time, as Rashi explains, it's a Gemara, Ein lecha ela shofet shebiyamecha. You have the leader that's in your generation. That's the guy that you got to go to. Okay? Right? And he may not be Moshe Rabbeinu. The Chavetz Chaim wasn't a bad guy. I mean, he's pretty good, right? We had good leaders. We had good people. All right? Any questions there? Loud and clear.
Can I ask you a question about anatomy of the soul?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you, because it's an amazing sefer. I have a question about when it says illusory thoughts. When it's talking about illusions and when somebody has illusory thoughts, what did you mean by that when you wrote that?
When you trick yourself. A delusion is something that you think it's real and it's not. Every person has an imagination.
Right.
Every person, right? The question is what you do with it. What you do with your imagination. You could be on the spot, you could be delusional. Right? Rabbi Nachman is interesting. There's a Gemara in Sukkah. The Gemara says the Yetzer Hara has 7 names. Evil, he's a, let's see if I can remember them, huh? Right? Senior moment, right? What do you call it? He's evil, he's a stone, he's the hidden one, there's a number of names that Rabbi Nachman said, in today's generation, we have to call the Yetzer Hara another name, the Koyach HaMadama, the imagination. Now, Rabbi Nachman lived at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, and he saw what was coming, right? The Industrial Revolution changed the way people lived. It's only 200 years, right? People then traveled horse and donkey, right? Horse and carriage. They had, everything was, you wanted food for the house, you had to buy sacks of flour, sacks of this, you had to make everything yourself, right? There was no indoor plumbing, which to me is the greatest invention, right? But you have a lot of different things. The imagination propelled us that we have everything today. Not yet, because there's going to be more things coming out. But the fact remains that the imagination is what can cause a person, all you have is this. No, now I have this, now I have this. The internet, it's a wonderful thing, incredible thing. You can get questions, answers, Wikipedia, or whatever else you want. It's all there. But it can do a lot of damage too. Correct? Right? It's the imagination. That's delusional. You think that you could follow what's going on in the internet and it won't harm you. No, that's delusional. Right? Making a mistake. You had a question? Loud and clear.
Try. Rabbi Nachman's followers
Rabbi Nachman's followers.
Hasidim, whatever. We're always doing tshuva, so I'm just wondering, like in Elul, what's new? What's different? Is there something different, or is it continue the same path that we're doing?
I didn't hear the whole question.
She said, Breslovers are always doing tshuva.
Yeah.
So what's different in Elul?
Oh, Reb Nosson had a son, Yosef Yona. He said, everyone thinks that comes Elul, Rosh HaShanah, I'm really going to do tshuva, right? He said, what people don't realize that Elul has its own pack of challenges. It's got its own package of challenges, right? Tshuva means, as Rabbi Nachman explains in lesson 6 in the Likutei Moharan, that what made you do tshuva, you had some kind of, what do they call it, epiphany of Hashem. You thought about Hashem, okay? And then, as you began to come closer to Hashem, you realize that Hashem is greater than what you really thought He was before, right? Now, if He's greater, you got to do greater tshuva. And then when He,
While you're around doing that, things that.
Yeah, but as you go, so in Elul, the idea of Elul is to realize and recognize the presence of Hashem at every moment, and that way you can come closer to Hashem at every moment. That you're doing closer tshuva.
So you're saying if you already do that, then it's the same.
Just keep on going. Keep on coming closer to Hashem. Make Him real in your life. Okay? The rabbi, gotta respect our rabbis, yeah.
I've been getting a question since the Breslov Yeshiva started last year. Today, there's a lot of kitot in Breslov. And there's a lot of different ways in which people say that Rebbe Nachman's teachings can, should be practiced. I've been accused many times of being a purist. If Rebbe Nachman said sha'ah or more, he meant an hour. But there are people who say that Rebbe Nachman could have meant 1 moment. Because in the Gemara, sha'ah is also a moment. Right. And so on and so forth. There's a lot of things that Rebbe Nachman said to do. When I read Reb Natan's teachings, when I read Rebbe Nachman's teachings, it seems like a davar pashut, that he means exactly what he says. But other people find that hard to believe that he meant exactly what he said. So I think it would just help the students to know what do you feel after learning Rebbe Nachman's teachings.
Rebbe Nachman meant what he said. Simple. However, not everybody is up to it. That's the point. As Rebbe Nachman says, you do this, you'll get this. You try this, you'll get to this level, whatever the case is. But not everybody feels it, that they have to do it that way. So I try and tell people, do what you can, not what you can't. It's as simple as that. Do whatever you can to come close to Hashem. Try the advice that Rabbi Nachman gives, right? Use it the best you can. If you can fulfill it as it's written, I mean, the same thing with Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch says X, right? I'd say about 60% of Shulchan Aruch, if not more, is b'di'evid. Right? Shulchan Aruch said, this is the law. But if you can't do this, then do this. If you can't do that, do that. Right? Shulchan Aruch comes out to be almost everything is b'di'evet. Right? Same thing with Rabbi Nachman, same thing with all the Sifrei Musa. Right? Do what you can, not what you can.
How do I trust myself? First of all,
How do you?
how do I know when it's dealing with Hasidus, especially Breslov?
I can't see you. But how?
When it's dealing with all these intense Hasidus, there's a lot of arguments, there's a lot of fights, this back and forth, back and forth. This is the way to do it. This is the way you were saying. That was the way you were saying, right? Why should I be involved with all the fights? I could just go to a regular yeshiva, live with the teaching, not word by word, but help me grow. Not be involved with all the machlaikas and everything. That's why the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, right? Because all the machlaikas and
Reb Nosson
all I get from a lot of people is just machlaikas. They're doing it wrong.
Well, let's put it this way. Reb Nosson said once, "What's the difference between a chassid and a litvak?" He says, "It's like a potato knish, right? One is hot and one is cold, right? The hot one tastes better, right? You want a powerful life? You want to exist on this planet? Go ahead, exist. But do you want to live? Do you want to live? Do you want to feel alive? Do you want something? Yiddishkeit is incredible, but do you feel it? Does it turn you? Does it move you? Does it motivate you? Right? That's what Hasidus does. Right? You can sit your whole life. A friend of mine describes it. Do you ever see the difference between a hand matzah and a machine matzah? All the machine matzahs are exactly the same. Right? The hand matzahs are not. They're very different. You want to be a machine matzah? Come out. They're all the same like everybody else? Or do you want to go through a baking process? Do you want to be able to take your life and control it and do the best you can? To feel Hashem in whatever it is you're touching. To feel the presence of Hashem in whatever it is that I'm doing. Hashem is there. Right? Chabad has a beautiful niggin. Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is always everywhere. I love that song. I sing it all the time. Right? To make it real. Make Hashem real. Right? That's what Hasidus does to you. It's up to you. You want to live a powerful life? Go ahead, exist.
I'm not saying live a powerful. I'm not saying I'm not saying just go to yeshiva. I'm saying it take from all Hasidus, not just one.
Do whatever you want. Whatever turns you on. Whatever turns you on. I can't tell you what's going to turn you on. You know. It's your life. Right? Your life? Live it.
What's the best way to get Ruach HaKodesh?
Huh?
What's the fastest way to get Ruach HaKodesh?
What's the fastest way?
Fastest way to get Ruach HaKodesh.
I cannot tell you because I don't have it. Right? But I can tell you, the Arizal has a whole book called Shah Ruach HaKodesh. If you want to study it, I don't advise it because there's a lot of meditations that you have to go through. Right? The best thing you can do is just perform the mitzvahs the best you can. And if you do, you speak to Hashem. Rabbi Nachman says, if you have his poitedus, when you talk to Hashem and you find yourself renewing with a new prayer, a new request of Hashem, a new approach, that's Ruach HaKodesh. Speak to Hashem. Or as a friend of mine puts it, how could you ever develop a relationship with someone with whom you never speak? If you don't speak to Hashem, how do you know He's there? Speak to Him. There's a joke told. They went to a Reform Jew. What do you say about Hashem? Is He real? He doesn't believe. They went to a conservative Jew. I heard about him. They went to an Orthodox Jew. Yeah, it's something in it. There must be something there. They went to a Breslov. Is there a God? I just spoke to him. Right? I just spoke to him. He's real.
I'll take one more question on this side and on this side if there is, and we'll call it. Over here.
Okay. Loud and clear.
What should our ratzon be on Rosh Hashanah?
Loud and clear.
What should our ratzon be on Rosh Hashanah?
What should our ratzon to come close to Hashem? You'll notice in all the tefillos of Rosh Hashanah, Hamelech HaKodosh, right? Tukdash odoin al kol ma'asecha, right? Everything, tein pachtecha, right? Everything is about Hashem being the Melech, the King. Your ratzon should be to accept Hashem as your King. Accept Hashem as your King, right? Now we do that every day with the Shema, right? But on Rosh Hashanah, it's more manifest. So that's what your ratzon should be on Rosh Hashanah, to come close to Hashem, to be a devoted servant to Hashem. Okay?
Any on this side, any more questions?
Loud and clear.
Rabbi Nachman mentions not to eat onions, right?
Oh, you're going to have to, I can't.
Say it.
Rabbi Nachman mentions not to eat onions, and I know
Raw onions.
Yeah, raw onions.
I know it sounds silly, but I have a lot of recipes that are really good with onions in it, and it needs it. So
There's a lot of restaurants that are using raw onions.
Yes.
I think it applies today.
Tell them you don't want the onion, or remove it from the food, right? I've faced that problem many times, right? That's what you do.
I'm saying it still applies today that it causes sickness. I'm saying the onion itself. I asked the Shaila and it.
Does it still apply today where they...
Yes, it applies today. In fact, there was a NIH, you ever hear of them? National Institute of Health in America. They once came out, eating raw onions can cause cancer. They had a study on that. And I read it quite a few years ago. Right? Yeah. Yeah, but Rabbi Nachman was a couple of hundred years before the NIH. Yeah.